His mother was a God-fearing woman. His birth was an unspeakable horror.
Please don't let him do that!
His life and death have been one incredible nightmare. But now all that is going to change because Freddie wants to become a daddy.
Want to make babies?
What's wrong with me? You're just a little pregnant.
Even if he has to adopt.
No!
Do unborn babies dream?
When it comes to chills.
It happened while I was awake.
When it comes to screams.
The party just started.
When it comes to pure terror.
Bon appetit.
No one delivers like Freddie. Better buckle up.
All right, Krueger. This time it's for keeps.
A Nightmare on Elm Street 5. The Dream Child.
It's a boy.
When it comes to terror, remember, Freddie knows best.
Thank you for joining us on the Grim and Bloody podcast. Standing in as host today, I'm Kevin Nicholson, writer and reviewer, interviewer for HorrorNews.net and for Scary Monsters Magazine, We Belong Dead Magazine, yada, 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 yada. And with me today is my usual partner in crime, Joe Flynn, the creativity award-winning horror host. Joe, how you doing?
Doing great, and happy Sunday, everyone.
And with us today, our very, very special guest. I'm sorry, is it Beatrice Boepple? Boepple. Okay. Thank you, Beatrice. She's the one of the stars of Nightmare on Elm Street 5, is a Dream Child, and other films, Shoot to Kill, which for those fans of the action genre is Sidney Poitier and Tom Berenger, and a variety of other films, some of which you can see on the posters in her background. Hi, Beatrice. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, gentlemen. How are you?
Fine.
Great.
We are suffering through the heat wave, part of the American Southwest, but you guys on the East Coast in New York are being saved from this, and so forth. So I'm inside. I'm staying inside. Air conditioning. Whoever invented that is fantastic. I love you. Whoever invented air conditioning is terrific. Now, let's start with your beginnings. First of all, how did you get into doing films, becoming a performing artist, and was any part of your childhood involved with the with being a horror fan, being a fan of things that go bump in the night?
Well, so double-barreled question. My fourth acting did begin when I was a little kid. I lived in Japan from age 9, so I was there for 4 years. So I was in a Japanese school, and I started off. I would, like in nursery school, and then I guess it was kindergarten. There would be school plays, and I was the only foreigner in the whole school. In fact, my family was the only foreign family in the entire town that we lived in. We stuck up like a sore thumb, and I would be in the plays, but I couldn't speak Japanese in the beginning. I eventually, of course, learned. So I always got to play like the dog or the cat or the tree or, some such non-speaking role. I could say woof, woof, and meow, meow. But I did. Growing up, my family did move around all over the place. After Japan, we moved to a farm in Belmead, New Jersey, and we moved up to Canada, and we kept moving around. I never lived anywhere longer than 4 years at the most, so I always had to learn to make new friends and stuff. so between just that wasn't really traumatic moving, but it's a disruption. It's stressful, always having to make new friends and such. And then there was quite a bit of drama and trauma in my life. And so, as it is for many actors, I think acting was a way to escape that. And so I loved the craft of acting. I could hide behind the characters that I played. It was something that was actually pretty particular, I think, from having lived in Japan at such a early age, was that I thought I was huge. My whole life, I thought I was really, really huge, because in Japan, back in the 60s, before we inundated them with McDonald's and stuff like that, the Japanese diet was very, very healthy. And Japanese people, by and large, were all skinny. Like, they just weren't big people. And I wasn't big. In retrospect, I wasn't in any way overweight or anything as a child. However, at whatever height I was, I towered over the kids my own age. When I look at photos, I'm like this, and they're like this at the same age. I can't get this off, by the way.
Oh no, Freddie's here. I have a feeling Freddie's around.
Ever since the movie, it's never left my hand. But anyway, let me finish that story. So I always towered over the kids, and so they always would call me monster, this and that, and I kind of had to hide behind. Like, I just always felt big, clumsy, ugly, yucky, whatever. And when I would be cast in films, they would say, like, beautiful ingenue, or the gorgeous, whatever, leading lady, whatever. Back when I was younger, and even though I didn't feel I was that, I could play it. So as soon as I'd step in front of the camera or step on stage as the beautiful whatever, for that time and place, I felt like the beautiful whatever. And then I'd go off stage and I'd be back to me. But I don't know. So I was really, it just drew me into acting from an early age. And then you said about horror. Again, Japan also had a huge influence, because they are spooky, man. The Japanese are really into spooky stories, and they're like chilling, creepy, not so much gore, maybe nowadays, I don't know. But at least as a kid, I certainly wasn't shown gory. I was shown lots of spooky Japanese stories, and they just haunt you. They creep up on you. And a common thing with a lot of Japanese fright, I guess, especially back in the day, was the concept of something beautiful or innocent being actually creepy, so it wouldn't be outwardly like just the vampire coming after. It'd be like a beautiful lady, you'd see from the back, and then she'd turn and she'd have this wicked face, or, it was always that element of surprise, which I think we all have to a degree, right? That's why we don't like clowns that are, and we don't like little dolls and, like innocent little kids on swing sets. Like, that's all creepy, because it's supposed to be friendly and sweet and innocent, and then it has this, you just slow motion it and put some creepy sounds, and it becomes like terrifying.
Well, that's what they have. They're huge with the ghost story, which is something similar to what you're saying, where something that appears, in the ghost story, you have something that appears normal, an ordinary setting, a house, a mansion or outdoor setting. All of a sudden, a certain creep comes in. The billowing curtain, the moving of an object, that kind of thing, where you're going, oh, something is not quite right, and it gives you that nervous feeling. So, Joe, I'm sorry, do you have a question?
Oh, I do. I really want to know, how did you get cast as playing Amanda Krueger?
That was the oddest thing, because, as all actors will attest, generally to get a lead role, to land a role in a film, you go to the, they call in a lot of actors and they narrow it down. And then if you get a call back, fantastic. And then they might call you back again, and then maybe even screen test. It's usually a process. This was the one and only time where I got called into the audition. My agent got me the audition, and boom, on the spot, they cast me. Stephen Hopkins said, "Okay, you're our Amanda." I've never had that happen before or since, but yeah. So they just, I guess, we played around a bit with her voice, and I sang for them. I sang in spooky Catholic voices because I've been
nice.
played Nun so many times that I knew a lot of those Latin songs. And, you know, those to me, or anything like that. Like if you slow it down and have the eerie, it automatically sounds spooky, you know, in a billowy, darkened hallway, you know. So I was like, you know, I don't know. We had fun. And I think at the time too, because, and I'm pretty sure, I was just asked this the other day, and I'm pretty sure Wes Craven was in the room. I do think he was for that time, but definitely Stephen was, and Jay was in the room. And we were discussing, like, is Amanda Krueger, is she dead? Is she alive? Like, what is she, like, you know, what is this thing? And so you know, should I, what kind of voice should I have? Should it be like a ghosty voice? Should it be, you know? And at the time, I will admit it, I had never seen Elm Street 3, so I had never seen Nan Martin's portrayal of Amanda Krueger. In fact, I never knew anyone had ever played her before. I thought this was the first appearance of her. I only found out way later that she had actually been, and I'm glad I didn't, because I think I would have been comparing and trying to reenact her, you know, I don't know. So I just made it my own. I had no idea anyone else had ever played Amanda. And yeah, it was astounding to get cast so quick. But I don't think it was necessarily because I was so great. I think it was more that they're just in a bloody rush and like, okay, she'll do. Let's just go. Come on.
Right. Was any part of that? Because I know that you were a working actress before you know, Elm Street. Yeah, we talked about you had got your start in the Beachcombers, you know, series, and then you did 21 Jump Street, and you did Stakeout, which we can talk about for a little bit. But you were a familiar, you know, face. Was any part of the audition easier for you because maybe Stephen Hopkins and or Wes Craven were saying, I've seen her from other things. You know, she's a pretty good fit, or she'll be a good fit for this role.
Possible they might have known me. I will say, you know, without any, you know, ego trip or anything, at the time when I first moved to LA, which was right about when I would have been 89, I had just come from starring in those two films, Matinee and low-budget Canadian films. At that time, you know, I had been acting steadily for about 10 years in what was called Hollywood North, you know, Vancouver. Every TV series is filmed up there, you know. So I'd been working a lot, like doing tons and tons of stuff, sometimes lead roles, sometimes just a day role, you know. So I was familiar with the camera and such. And I had finally worked my way up to where in Vancouver film industry, I was kind of the it girl. You know, I was the one that when other girls, if we're auditioning for a part, I would walk in, they'd be like, oh, fuck, she's here. She's going to get it. Because, you know, but it took years and years. I mean, for years and years, I wasn't that girl. I was always the one that I would be getting callbacks. And in fact, I almost quit acting because I was getting callbacks all the time for a while. It would be between me and one other girl. And probably about a year, me and one other girl. And always the other girl got it. And so I one time said to my agent, you know, obviously I suck. I'm terrible. I never get the role. I'm quitting. He said, don't be an idiot. He said, the fact that it's always coming down to you and one other person, it means you're so close. And when it's down to just one or two or three people, they know that all three of you can do the role. They're just trying to decide which one looks the best with the leading actor, you know, hair type, eye color. It could be a number of any little random thing. So don't give up. And that was the best advice, because after that, then I started to get cast. And, you know, unfortunately, once you start to get work, then they trust, I don't know, then you just start to get lots and lots of work. It's just the way it happens. So I was doing really well in my career, and I probably would have been, I don't know, who knows what I would have been had I stayed in Vancouver, where I was really getting a lot of roles. But I left out of romance.
Don't we love it?
It's sad because I was dating a guy who also was an actor, but very insecure one. And every time I would star in a role, he would cheat on me. So, you know, and I was too insecure to not just go asshole and leave him. I don't know what it was. You know, it takes a long time for some of us to grow up. But anyway, so I followed him. He left after I started in these things. He moved to LA, and I followed him down there. And so right when my career was at its height and really doing well, where I could really start to get lots and lots of roles, I left and I became, you know, I could go to LA where I'm pretty much an unknown. my only advantage. I did get a good agent right away. It was the same lady that represented Martin Sheen and Charlie Sheen, and I got that probably through Emilio Estevez. That's probably how I got that. And she was the one that said you have to audition for Elm Street. And then Elm Street was the last thing I did, because after that, every role I got offered was horror, and I was too much of an actor from theater school to appreciate what lucrative work that would have been. And I was too young, and I didn't want to be typecast doing the same kind of roles. And they weren't great scripts, I got to tell you. Most of the things I was reading were just like horrible, sexy, booby girl on a motorcycle getting killed and raped, or I don't know, like they just weren't, I would have loved to have done scary movies. I loved, especially the movies of the 70s and like TV shows that were scary. I love that kind of stuff. But I wasn't then. I'm still not into gore. Like gore does nothing for me. I really.
Thank you.
I'm kind of, when I watch certain things, like for example, I love Squid Games. It was fantastic. Such great character development in the story. But, with all the killing parts, I just kind of like, okay, whatever, and then I watch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I get that, and for me, as a horror fan, and I don't mind a little gore and stuff like that in the right place, but not overly done, constantly going like, oh, hey, can I throw an axe into your head, Freddie Growing Up? No, I'm going to get killed anyways. So goodbye. No.
Right? Yeah.
See, to me, I'm as the reviewer and the critic, I look at gore as if it serves in the purpose of the story, it's fine. Far too often, it's a crutch done by lousy filmmakers. It's lazy. It's a cheap, as I said, crutch to be able to use. And if the movie is all about the gore, there's no movie.
With indicated gore, it can be like, it's just, our imaginations are probably better than the special effect they can do. So if you see whatever it is coming close to the eyeball or something like that's enough. Like, we're all skeeved out. We can imagine what it's like. We don't need to actually see it go into the eye for us to get the. And the unseen ghost or the unseen thing is always much more scary, because it's like, oh my God, is it there? And then all the sort of twists and turns, and then
sure,
turns out it's not anything, and then when you're not expecting it, suddenly they jump out, or but when it's just like gore, it's like, okay, whatever.
Okay. All right. So now let's talk a little bit about you. Before you did The Nightmare on Elm Street, you did Stakeout, which is just a lot of fun. I love it. And you've got two dynamic stars in Richard Dreyfuss and Emilio Estevez. Kind of talk a little bit about working with those two guys. I can imagine that the set was cut up after cut up after cut up after cut up.
Yeah, for sure. They were wonderful guys. And John Badham, the director, was a blast. Everyone, we just had so much fun. And actually, horror related, I think it was from my boyfriend at the time. Unfortunately, he's deceased, and it wasn't me. I didn't kill him, I promise. But no, it was pretty. Anyway, he was a fan of horror and of special effects and stuff, and he would always read, come on, what's the big horror special effects?
Fangoria,
thank you. Yeah, and before my audition, he said, oh, read this article. It was about John Badham. And John Badham, I think, had done like years back, and this was already years back, so it must have been way back before cars were invented. No, it was something like either Shakespeare vampires, or I don't know, it was something really bizarre. I don't remember actually what it was, but it was something strange that I hadn't heard about, on a little known fact. And so unless you read Fangoria, you wouldn't have known. So I had that fact. So when I went to the audition, I talked to him about that. And actors who are watching, you make a connection, do your research, get to know who you're auditioning for, and then talk to them, and it will make a big difference. It will. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so I was talking to him about that, and I think that's why I got cast, because we ended up with a really interesting conversation. It kind of broke through the nerves or whatever. And then I think I had originally auditioned for a part of a cop, some female cop, and then they called me and said, no, we want you as Emilio Estevez's wife. And I was like, oh, okay. But
I'll take that, bro.
I'll take that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And oh my God, I don't know which one to talk about more. They both were so wonderful, each in different ways. But Richard Dreyfuss, he was so freaking down to earth, genuine, funny, he was kind of like full of himself in a fun, confident kind of way, like he could afford to be. For example, I had at the time I had this company called ProTrack, Professional Training for Actors. A friend of mine and I we would get special people in or do workshops, a way to pay between acting gigs. And so I asked Richard Dreyfuss if he would be a guest. And he's like, of course. And I said, we can do a small stipend. We can't. And he goes, oh, forget it. No money, because obviously we couldn't afford whatever his real fee would be. So the weekend before he was going to come and talk to my actors, I went to the grocery store, whatever, the Stop and Shop or Safeway or whatever it was in Canada. And back in the day when we watched VHSs, for those of you who don't know, this is the way we used to watch movies.
VHS, what's that?
Yeah. Some kind of spaceship. And the VHSs would be like in a turnstile rack in the grocery store by the front window. So I went into the store and I was looking through, picking out all the Richard Dreyfuss movies. And suddenly, here I am in Vancouver in a grocery store, I get this bear hug by somebody, and I turn around, and it's Richard Dreyfuss. And my jaw just dropped, and my boyfriend's jaw went to the floor. And Richard, the fact that he recognized me enough from just the few days we had been on set together, and he took the time seeing me, came in, it was just so sweet. And so he gives me a noogie kind of thing. He goes, what are you doing in here? And I said, I'm looking for movies. And he goes, what movies? And I said, well, actually, your movies. And he goes, oh, those are the best kind, And I said, and so I said, do you watch your own movies? How often do you ever watch them back? And he goes, oh, yeah, sure. Whenever I'm bored, he goes, I just get my remote and I go, bullshit, stop me. Bullshit, me. So he was wonderful. He was like that. And in fact, if you watch Stakeout, there's a scene where, I was going to say Freddie Growing Up. Emilio Estevez, his partner, is my husband. So he's laying in bed, and the phone rings, and it's Richard Dreyfuss calling him. And Emilio has to talk him down from drinking himself into oblivion, I think, or something like that. So I come into the room while he's on the phone with Emilio, and I walk over, and I get into bed with Emilio. And on the other line, Richard Dreyfuss is, talking with him. And then he says, oh, tell Carol I said hi, which was my character. But in real life, so he goes, it was just sometimes tell Carol hi, but he goes, constantly he went off script. So he goes, kiss Carol for me. So Emilio on screen kisses me on the face. And then Richard Dreyfuss says, no, lower.
God.
That comes out just like what his personality is.
Yeah.
He just seems like that type of guy.
Yeah, and they kept that in. And a funny little tidbit was that right after that, and Richard Dreyfuss came on set that day, and even though he was all off screen, he came on set and read all his lines, which shows what kind of guy he is. Because most stars would just have some, third AD or something just read the lines to us, right? Because he's not actually on there, and his would obviously be a separate recording. But nope, he came to set, read the lines for us. So he's standing off screen giving the lines, and then suddenly when we finished that scene, he goes, threesome! And he came running into the camera, jumped into bed. So I was sandwiched with Richard Dreyfuss on one side, Emilio Estevez on the other side. And I'm like, holy smokes, these two guys. And then John Badham said, don't leave me out. And he came into bed too. And if there's anybody on this planet, if they have that, obviously it was on the cutting floor, but if somebody kept that, I would pay I don't know what to get that footage. I wish somebody
You would have saved it, and then could have said, "Here, when the DVD extra collection comes out, here it is on the DVD."
Yeah, could you imagine like me in bed with these guys? I mean, it would have been funny, but.
Folks, if you have this footage, whoever is out there, contact Beatrice and let her know, and I'm sure something can be worked out.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. Now, onto after you did Stakeout, I do want to talk a little bit about you did the wonderful action thriller Shoot to Kill, and you said you had filmed that in the Canadian was it the Canadian Rockies, right?
Yeah, well, they did a lot in British Columbia. So they were out there. The scene that I was in was all in the city, and it was in downtown Vancouver in I can't even remember the name, something Square, a famous square.
Sure.
But so that was, of course, with Tom Berenger and Sidney Poitier, and also I think Kirstie Alley, she was in it too. Yeah, and a lot of big actors from Canada that maybe people don't know the names of, but Blue Mankuma, he was playing a cop with me, and we definitely had fun on that set.
Now, how was? Do you have remembrances of Sidney or Tom in working on that?
Yeah, because I didn't really have a lot of I didn't have dialogue with them, but I do remember Sidney Poitier just being very. The sense that I got is the sense that we all kind of get watching him. Just a real dignified gentleman. He did have a sense of humor, but not necessarily as wackadoodle as some of the actors I've worked with. When he's on, at least my experience of him was he was pretty professional. Like when he was on set, he was focused, but kind as can be. He definitely cracked a joke or two, but not, he wasn't like, obviously he's not a Richard Dreyfuss, but very, very elegant, gentlemanly, just somebody you feel honored to be working with.
Now it looks like just looking it up that you worked in Robson Square.
Yeah. Oh, Robson Square. Yeah. Oh, I knew it was a famous story.
Yeah.
Yes. Somewhere in Canada.
I can imagine though that just even watching someone like Sidney work, you were probably, just entranced.
Yeah.
You were just like, wow, because I've read from other actors and so forth who said they just stood back and they watched him do his thing.
Yeah.
And they learned a lot by just watching.
Because he commands his space. Right. Is the one thing I could say about him. Like, it's just like, some people just have that. Celebrities have a certain thing, but it's different than that. It's not celebrity. With him, it was just his presence that I'm sure even not acting. He just commands his space. He's very, very grounded. I know you didn't ask this, but I just want to throw it in there because I don't normally talk about it because I got cut. I was on the cutting room floor. But I got to work with Katharine Hepburn.
Nice.
And that for me, that was, I also worked with Mickey Rooney. So, but with Katharine Hepburn, our scenes were together. And that's the other thing. If anyone has that cutting room floor footage, I would love to have it. I played her. She was a writer. It was a TV movie, made for TV movie. I think it was something like Mrs. Delafield Slept Here, or something like that. I might be wrong on the name. And I was her literary agent secretary. So we had this whole scene with Katharine Hepburn. Was such to me, like, they're not many. There's lots of actors that I've been very happy to meet, but I've never been like starstruck. Just I'm in the industry, but Katharine Hepburn to me was so legendary. Sidney Poitier was too, and I'm sure if I had like speaking, if I really was speaking with him in my scenes, I would have been maybe quite nervous. I don't know, whatever. But Katharine Hepburn, anyway, I was just thrilled to meet her. Plus, I knew my mom and my grandma and everybody would be like excited about that. And she was just so down to earth and wonderful to work with. And her production, the whole team, they treated it like a play. We had the whole cast, every speaking role, sat around the table at a church, and we read through the whole screenplay. You know, we got to rehearse like that, and you know, and unfortunately, even though my role, I had like about 2 or 3 scenes, I think, and it probably wouldn't have taken. It would have been 1 week's work at most. But unfortunately, she was ill at the time, and she kept getting sick. But financially, it was good for me because I kept getting paid for week after week after week because they kept us, you know, on the payroll. So it really moved out to being like a whole month. But no, she was absolutely marvelous. And then the producer, I got invited to the screening. You know, and my agent, I brought my agent, I brought my boyfriend, and when I showed up, the producers, you know, oh hi Beatrice, and then suddenly like this ghostly look went across their eyes, and they didn't say anything to me then, but I think that's when they realized, oh shit, we forgot. You know, we cut her out, and she doesn't know. I had no idea I was cut. Why would they invite me to the screening? So I'm sitting there with my agent, my boyfriend, and my scene's about to come up, and I'm like, you know, tap him on the shoulder. Here it comes. And it wasn't, you know, I didn't show up. So I was like, that sucks. You know, that scene got cut. And then a little bit later in the film, I'm like, okay, well, here's my next scene. Here we go. And I was completely cut in all 3 scenes. And by then I was just devastated. You know, I was like, oh my God, you know, because, you know, I know it's part of the industry. It happens, you know, and the role, you know, in retrospect, she was here, you know, when they had to cut time, that's when they had to cut. And afterwards, the producer was so apologetic, you know, they came up, we're so sorry. You know, you were the last scene for us to cut. We loved, it was a really cute interchange that you had, and we really wanted to keep you in, but timing, you know, we still needed to cut, you know, 5 more minutes or whatever. And we had to cut all 3 scenes because it wouldn't make sense otherwise, you know, it just wouldn't make sense. So you have to either just be gone completely. So they had to cut it off. They ended up casting me in something else because they felt so bad. But, you know, it was definitely a nice little ego smasher.
Right.
Gosh, I was looking at the cast list for that, and it just what an amazing group of actors you got to work with. Nonetheless, Denham Elliott, Harold Gould. It's the Mrs. Delafield Wants to Marry.
Oh, Wants to Marry.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you had Katharine Hepburn, the wonderful actress Bibi Besh.
Yes.
And so you had quite and even if your scenes were on the, you know, ended up being cut, I'm sure that was just an amazing, you know, work experience.
Yes, it was. And she was so delightful. She gave every cast member an autographed copy of her book, Making of the African Queen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, wrote it out to me, dear Beatrice, marvelous working with you. You know, and it was like just.
Yes.
Now let's talk about Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. You said that you had to audition for that, like everybody else. Oh,
there he is.
Yes.
You just want to go. Who's a little baby? Who's a little?
Yes. Oh yeah. Let me show your listeners this.
Oh, see.
Yeah.
They're twins.
Every Scream Queen should have one. Should have a set like that. You know.
For sure.
Yes. Yeah. From any horror franchise.
Right?
And it'd be Freddie, Michael, Jason. Here, have a pair of earrings. It's on us.
So talk about working with Stephen Hopkins and with Robert Englund. Yeah. That had to have been the joy of all. That had to have been an incredibly fun set.
I will say it was a wonderful set. It was breathtaking to me. You know, I know 5 was poo-pooed by a lot of critics and so forth, but which I really don't get. Honestly, I think the kills were very creative. You know, Freddie went after each person very specifically based on their fears and what's going on in their life. You know, going after the cartoon artist through cartoons, which was so creative to me. You know, and Danny and his love of his motorcycle and speed.
Sure.
You know,
yes.
And then, of course, Yvonne, like the grossest one, you know, with all the eating issues, you know, and then being fed yourself. It's so, it's so deep when you think about, especially actors and models, which she was, she actually is. Erica is a stunning. God, these actresses never seem to age from that film. I don't know, but anyway, she
true.
Yeah, but she that gruesome scene, but I thought that was so creative, and the gothic sets, and then the backstory. I know you asked about Stephen Hopkins, but can I plug something really quick?
Sure,
go.
I have written a novel, and it's finally completed, and we're now just going into production. The Krueger Curse: A Nightmare Before Elm Street. Okay. And it is the backstory of Freddie Krueger and Amanda Krueger, and it takes you back before. It gives you the history of the Kruegers. Why did Amanda become a nun, and then what was her relationship with Freddie growing up? Because we know from the films that he did know that she was his mom. It's not like he didn't know. He clearly knew that she was his mom. So they had to have had some relationship. We know that she had to give him up for adoption. We know that, played by Alice Cooper, he was raised by that creepy stepdad. What made the creepy stepdad so horrible? What, all these things. I delve into it, following all 8 films, every detail from the films I stay true to. But flesh it out, giving the backstory that I had kind of created as an actor, and it's all it's told by Amanda Krueger, and it's illustrated by some. I don't know if you know Joe St. Pierre. He's a cartoon artist for
yes.
So he's done Marvel cartoons. He's done a number of I hired him to do a number of illustrations, and also this wonderful Canadian artist Stephen P. Hughes.
Awesome.
This image was,
wow.
Yeah. And
that is beautiful.
Isn't it? And that was the image that I had found online, and that actually inspired me to write the book, because he captured what I was feeling. Amanda is a pretty tragic, she's a complex character. She's a nun, something's made her have this calling towards God. And then for a nun to have gotten raped, what that did to her, then to give birth, and then to have to give up her child, and then to watch that child turn into this killer. What is that like? I just have so much, I don't know, I get emotional when I think about it, but I have a lot of love for her character, and the book really delves into it. It takes you through everything that happens up until Freddie is killed, the first time, until he's first burnt, and she kills, she locks herself away in the tower to die. And I just think any Elm Street fan will really like it, because it, kind of gives the history of the sweater, his sweater, his hat, everything's in there. Even the skip rope girls, like, what's with that? There's a history to that. It all comes out in this book. So, I hope I'm only doing a very limited edition of 100 copies to start with. I'm going to sell it online and at shows, for the fans. But it was a labor of love, and I think any Elm Street fan should get a kick out of it.
I think they will. Yeah, I think they will. And the I'm sorry, Joe, did you have a question?
No, I was just saying that yes, anyone who's a fan of the Nightmare on Elm Street series, be Freddie, and I do agree. I wanted to know more about the Amanda Krueger backstory.
Sure.
But, you only can do so much in the film and say, oh yeah, this is it. But thank you for working on that damn film. It was a fun one.
Sure. Now, I can, you asked, you mentioned something about, what is it that Nightmare 5 was not the most well received. And I think that the biggest and best critics are the fans. And that's what, when you hear Robert talk, it's, why he does these films, and why these films have a staying power for as long as they've had, why we're talking about them some 30, 32, 35, 40 years later. It's because of the fans.
100%.
And that's why he why he does that. And I think that's what NOES 5 is, popular like it is today is because of these fans. That's why they hopefully will listen to our show and enjoy hearing from people like yourself. As far as that goes,
it's why I dedicated the book to the fans. It's 100% dedicated to the fans. Because, and I say it all the time. I say it to my fans, like, we would absolutely not be here. None of this would exist without the fans. That's 100% what's kept this going. A 30-year-old film, 30-plus-year-old film. To me, it's an honor to do shows. Meeting the fans, and I'm if anything, I'm just frustrated. There's a lot of politics into. Unfortunately, a lot of the conventions there's politics into who can go to what shows, and which is a pity because the fans just want to meet the people.
Right. Right.
Very true. And I admit, I am surprised that, with the convention circuit and stuff like that, where you see people from all types of casts from certain films, I'm surprised that you have not been out to the convention circuit.
Well, I haven't on the West Coast. I've been doing quite a bit on the East Coast. Just this past year, I didn't even know conventions existed. I'm very slow to the game. It was okay. So I just
all you have to do is call Robert up.
Yeah, well,
Robert up and say, "Let me tell you." He'll tell you.
Well, so there's also some stuff with agents. So I've done a bunch of shows on the East Coast. I still haven't come out to the West. I'm doing a show in Florida in August. I'm doing a show in England. I'm doing a show in Gettysburg. I'm doing a show in Boston. All coming up this fall when my surgery has healed. I just had surgery on my spine 5 weeks ago.
Oh, goodness.
Yes, major fusion surgery. Yeah.
Speedy recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. But so unfortunately to date, I've not been able to appear with Robert. And a lot of fans would love to see the Amanda and Freddie together. And I don't want to get into politics of it. There's some reasons with agents and whatnot why that hasn't happened so far. But you never know. We shall see.
Well, one of the show or two of the shows that are big on the West Coast, if you're not familiar with them, I'll just mention them to you. Monsterpalooza, which is done in Burbank and Pasadena, in Southern California. Elliot Brodsky's Monsterpalooza is a big one. I think you would be welcomed with a red carpet throughout, from end to end on the state to come to that show. And another one is one that comes closer to where I'm at in the Sacramento area, which is Sinister Creatures Con. And
wow, they sound great.
Yeah, no, and they're definitely, even if you look at the guest lineups for the shows this year for both places, it's very 80s. It's very actor and actress oriented. At Sinister Creatures Con, we have there's going to be William Ragsdale and Amanda Bierce from Fright Night.
Wow, yeah.
Joe Bob Briggs is going to be there. So everything is very 80s. And Amanda Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street 5 fans would be out the door, I think.
That would be so much fun.
As far as now, okay, so let's talk about one more time the book that you have.
Yeah,
which is coming out.
It's coming out. The Krueger Curse: A Nightmare Before Elm Street. All right, do we have time for me to read a short little section?
Sure, please.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right. There was no doubt in my mind now that Freddie had indeed murdered Mr. Underwood. And it came in a flash that, of course, he must have also murdered Loretta, the only person other than I who had loved him. I took a deep breath and knelt onto the dirty basement floor. I looked up at my son, who stood over me, his hand raised as if about to strike. Light glinted off the blades on that glove. Hold on, for dramatic effect. Light glinted off the blades on that glove, each blade forged from the anguish, the agony, the hatred that had filled my son's heart with every cruelty thrown at him since his unfortunate birth. It was perfect justice that I, the one who birthed him, the one who let him go, the one who couldn't protect him, that I, his mother, would die at the end of these blades of his lifelong torment. I made the sign of the cross, looked into his eyes and whispered, I am sorry, my son. I am so very sorry. My greatest fear is that you will live your life never knowing how much you were truly loved. I forgive you for what you're about to do. And then I lowered my head and closed my eyes.
Wow.
Brilliant.
I'm moved
of course.
just hearing that. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And wow.
Yes.
On that, go ahead, Joe. I'm at a loss for words.
No, sure you are, Kevin. Just like I was almost gonna go run and get my Freddie someplace back that way, but
that's all right.
I was too slow. But no, I do have a question. What do you have besides the book coming up?
So the book I have the shows. There's an amazing. We have. Hold on. Can you just?
Sure.
Yeah.
Wait. Well, no, I won't run over there. But anyway.
Run.
I was going to say it's breaking news.
Run.
Breaking news.
Breaking news on the Grim and Bloody podcast.
That's right. That's right. We got breaking news from CNN. Okay. Wow. Horror gods.
Yeah. So there's me, and then this pin. It's a pin, and it's a glow in the dark.
Wow.
We love it.
Glow in the dark pin. Yeah. So we'll have those are for sale too with Amanda and Baby Freddie. You can tell I'm kind of a bit of a fan of Baby Freddie.
Just kind of.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. I'm a little Freddie obsessed. In fact, I learned that to get to a lot of these shows, you have to really be active in social media. So I've been, here at 60 years old, I'm learning about Instagram and
Twitter
and all these crazy things. And so I've been doing goofy things. If anyone wants to follow me on either TikTok or Instagram, I do these goofy videos. I found this weird app. I think it's called Face Dance or Face Mashup. And I get little a photo of Baby Freddie and me or Robert Englund and Baby Freddie, whatever. And they dance and sing to different silly songs. It's quite silly, but we have fun.
Now,
and where
go ahead. No, go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, what is the TikTok name so people can go follow you?
Yeah, I think it is just Beatrice Boepple, my name. Boepple. I believe that's what my name is. Profile. Yes, Beatrice.
Let's hope so.
Sometimes you have to look at your own name tag to see. Wait, what's my name?
Yeah.
Who's my name?
Awesome.
I have, like Baby Freddie, and then I've done some fun little videos in character. There's a wonderful cosplay actor. In fact, his name is Dave Hogg, and he's Dream Killer Cosplay, and he actually made these earrings for me. And
awesome.
he dressed up as Freddie, and we did a little skit for Mother's Day with Freddie being reminded by Jason. Jason reminded him that he has to remember his mother, so he gives me a call, and so you can find that kind of goofy content. And also, I started a YouTube. There's not a lot on there yet, but I started a YouTube channel, and at the conventions, and that's usually I'm there with a lot of the Nightmare on Elm Street 5 cast. I tape us joking around after, when we're going for drinks and stuff. So you can meet a lot of the goofy, actors behind the scenes on there and different little clips and such. So yeah, just look up Beatrice Boepple and you'll find me.
That is fantastic, and I'm sure you get a call every once in a while still from Bob from Robert Englund.
Yeah, not so often, and lately. I mean, he's a very, very busy man, and he does have so many. There's a lot of us. Only one of him. Oh, I mean, I'm the only mother, of course, but there's lots and lots of.
Well, saying he needs to keep in touch with his mother, with his on-screen mother.
Absolutely, I know.
I can imagine that if he does call you, he's the type of guy that will pull a lot of jokes on you, and prank you a bit, when he calls.
Yeah, which pranking. It's funny too. Earlier you had mentioned Johnny Depp. Mm-hmm. He's another one of those. He's a total pranker, like on set when we did 21 Jump Street. Pranks, nonstop pranks. But I guess people have to have a way to have fun on set, right? Because there's a lot of downtime. But
yeah. Well, in any case, thank you very much for joining us, Amanda Boepple. I got it right. I got it right. Oh, yes.
Although it's Beatrice, but anyway.
Amanda,
Beatrice.
Okay, what did I say? Okay.
You said Amanda Boepple.
We're going to.
Yeah, we're just going to add this onto the floor. It's on
Boepple.
The double takes, man.
There you go.
Trust us.
Beatrice Boepple.
Beatrice Boepple.
Amanda Krueger.
Amanda Krueger. Beatrice Boepple. I'm probably thinking of some Katharine Hepburn character that was named Amanda because I got Katharine Hepburn on my mind. Beatrice Boepple, thank you very much for being on our show. You're tremendous, folks. Go out and get the DVD of Nightmare on Elm Street 5. Rewatch it yourself. Get your kids, get your grandkids to watch it. It's fun. It's Freddie. Yes. It's Nightmare on Elm Street. It's Robert Englund.
Yes.
It's Beatrice Boepple.
That's right. And get ready to pick up her book, guys.
Get ready to pick up her book. Now, is that going to be available on on Amazon in all forms?
Yeah. No, it won't be available on Amazon. It's going to be, again, at shows that I appear at.
Okay. And
I also am going to have a website.
Okay.
So if anyone wants to, the easiest way to keep track of it is follow me on something on Facebook or Instagram or something, because I'll be announcing it. And they're going to be all individually autographed and sent out to you because there's only 100.
Is the website available yet? Is it up for pre-order?
It will be up for pre-order probably in about, I think, 2 weeks.
There we go.
Okay.
You heard it here first.
Get the book. Keep in touch with Beatrice on social media. The book is going to be worth it. I'm looking forward to it myself.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, Beatrice, for joining us. It's been great. Now, if you want to hang around for a moment, it's just we're missing two of our co-hosts, but Joe and myself will usually talk about what we're doing next, and then we end the show.
Yeah.
So Joe, what do you got coming up?
Oh, what do I have coming up? Well, I am just gearing up to talk about upcoming horror films. Really sorry we did not make it to Monsterpalooza this last weekend.
Right.
I've been watching YouTube videos of the convention and seeing the madness of the lines to get into the convention. It's the first convention back in 2 years. So.
Okay. I understand that you're having, have you had your anniversary show yet?
Not yet. It's coming up in like about under 3 weeks. My show's been on officially for 21 years on my local cable channel. So I got to take some fun stuff. Maybe I'll throw in Robert Englund in there for Miss Amanda Krueger. Just the guy like, oh my God, you met my son? Yes, I have.
Throw in Amanda the Nun, into it.
I'll go grab a clip from Dream Child and say, here, I met them both. There, I'm out of here.
Thanks, Joe, and I'll tell people I've got a few things that I'm working on. We have still in the process of an interview with Joe Bob Briggs, which will show up for the fall issue, the horror hosts issue of Scary Monsters magazine. I did a piece I also write for magazine, Beatrice, called Cinema of the 70s, which talks about, movies, all the great movies and actors within that decade. And I got to do a piece on the Muppet movie.
Oh, wow.
So it shows how, kind of how versatile I am in the movie genre. And that's issue number 6, Cinema of the 70s. That's out I think it's out for pre-order this week, or out this week. So Cinema of the 70s magazine. Look forward to that. And I've got the cover story for We Belong Dead, issue number 31, I believe it is. And it's American Werewolf in London, where we do a whole breakdown about the making of the John Landis classic and so forth. So that's coming up. In any case, thank you again, Beatrice Boepple, for joining us. You were fantastic. And we look forward to your book. We look forward to hopefully seeing you maybe on the big or small screen sometime soon.
Oh, yeah, that is coming up. I do have a few roles coming up, but yes, next year.
Okay.
Yes, we'll just keep it.
Is there anything you can announce, or is it not?
Actually, yes, I can announce. I can certainly announce. Okay, now I'm going to embarrass myself.
Now she's going to just drop. I am back as Amanda Krueger in
the remake.
Nightmare on Elm Street '92.
Yeah, wouldn't that be amazing? No, Emerald Forest.
Uh-huh.
It's a fantasy, sort of a Wizard of Oz kind of thing. And actually, the interesting thing is most of the cast is from Elm Street. Mark Patton is in it.
Sure, who we've had on even on our show. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Danny Hassel from 5 and 4, Lisa Wilcox from 5 and 4. Actually, Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp.
Felicia's great.
Sure.
She's in it, and I'm in it, and I'm playing. I want to show you guys.
Yeah, if you can.
Photo, if I can find it. Where's the profile?
I didn't do anything with it.
I'm playing this Wicked Witch. Hold on. I just wanted a creepy role, and I get to play this. Where is she? Here we go.
And here's.
Ooh. Wow.
That's what
I love it.
Yeah.
Emerald Forest.
Yeah. And and I play this witch. She's like comes crawling out of the bog and eats spiders and all kinds of fun things. And there's a few other things coming up, hopefully. So.
And you said these are next year?
Next year it starts filming. Anywho.
So look for these in your okay.
Oh, and then this, just for fun, this an artist had made for me. It's a mashup, right? So it's a crystal mask, Jason's mask. Yeah. But see Freddie's glove and my rosary.
Yeah. Yes.
He made it just for Amanda. He made it just for me.
Ah, beautiful.
Yeah. So,
now that's a tie-in for another movie with Jason, Freddie,
Andy,
Amanda.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
The whole gang.
Well,
I think we should get all the creepy moms together, or not necessarily creepy, but the monsters' moms together.
Yes.
I imagine that Robert will call you and say, "Hey, why am I not in this? In this film?"
Dear, you don't get to be in all of them. Go up to your room. It's Mom's turn now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Beatrice Boepple, for joining us. You are wonderful, and good luck on all of your future endeavors. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. I really had fun, you guys.
Thank you.
Oh, it was a blast, and have a great the rest of your Sunday out there in
Thank you.
City.
And you guys keep cool in your heat.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And so for Al Omega, who couldn't be with us, and for Anthony Derone, who couldn't be with us today, for Joe Flynn, I'm Kevin Nicholson. Thanks for watching or listening to the Grim and Bloody Show. And as Al would say, watch horror films. Keep America strong. Have a good day.
I'm actually wearing this shirt.
There you go. Awesome.
Yeah.